the metro line. I don't want land. I want to ride on the metro line. To the glory of God, on Monday, 27, Mr. President will ride on that metro line. So all the answers have been done. In fact, the last administration awarded $128 million for 29 months for the CCECC to train our people for the operation of that metro line. $128 million US. When we came on board, I said, no. What are you training? That you take $128 million US. They said, but the Federal Executive Council has approved. I said, yes, I agree. But now that I've discovered that there's something that's wrong here, I will not accept that. As I speak to you, we have reduced it to $75 million. For 128, saving us $53 million US. So when Mr. President rises on Monday, you take your own turn on Tuesday. It is for you. It's not for Mr. President. It's for you. So that now, you don't need, okay, if you are going to the stadium to watch match, and you stay in the rural areas, you don't need to bring your vehicle. All you need, enter a train from whichever station, whether you need to, or whether you Kukuba, whichever where. You take the train down to the stadium. There is a train station there. You stop there, trek, and enter the stadium. Even the match finishes by 10 p.m. You come out from the stadium, enter the train station, and go back. There are car parks in every station. There are car parks. You carry a car, you go there, enter the train. That is the way business is supposed to be. It is renewed hope agenda. So most of you who are saying that they have commissioned it, please don't make a mistake. What was commissioned was the building. And we are not commissioning building. What we are trying to do, we want to have commercial operation. So if you are going to the airport, from here to airport, it's 20 minutes. It takes you down to the airport. Seeing is believing, is it not? That is practicable. Just go on Tuesday. Monday will be tough for you. You know, I will not tell you lies. So don't come on Monday. And we are going to allow for free ride for 2 months. 2 months. And you know, Mr. President, he can even say extend it to 6 months. Just to reduce the pains of our people. That is renewed hope agenda. When you say something, you do it. Is it not correct? That is what we call renewed hope agenda. When we came, look at all the, when people say Abuja is a city, I ask myself, what makes it a city? No good roads. What makes it a city? No light. I said no. I called the executive secretary, FCDA, come. What's your work here? Tell me, what's your work? Look at the whole street. You can't have a good road to say it's a city. I said no. I said, I don't know what you're doing. I want to see the paper on my table the next 1 week. Every street in Matama, Garaki, Asokoro will say, wherever you name them, we must have to rehabilitate them. Today, you can attest to the fact that most of the roads have been rehabilitated. Yes, though, there was some inconvenience, but that is part of your own sacrifice. To enjoy something good, you have to work, is it not? That was done. You know this Asokoro Junction before, is it not? You know it. How is it now? AYA. How is it now? How is it? Look, they awarded the contract to rehabilitate National Assembly. For how many years? As we came, we finished it. National Assembly is now using it properly. They awarded to rehabilitate the first phase of the Federal Secretariat to Julius Berger. It was abandoned. We came. We have finished that first phase rehabilitation of the Federal Secretariat. The presidential residence, the VP's presidential residence, was awarded in 2010. 2010, a whole Nigerian VP's residence. 2010. We are now 2014, is not correct? 24. How many years? Some of you don't know mathematics. How many years? 14 years. 14 years. You see what I told you? 14 years. But now, just 1 year of Mr. President, the VP will enter a very brand new house as request of the Vice President of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Look at the education. As I speak to you, over 19 schools have been rehabilitated as I speak to you now. Over 19 schools. Sometimes when you go to our schools here in the city, you cry. I'm not talking about the ones in the rural areas. That's not what I'm talking about. Just look at the city alone. So when people come to the city and they see the kind of school, it tells them too what will be happening at the rural area. So give the first lift here. The same time we're also doing at the satellite towns. From 27th to 6th of June is Abuja Week of commissioning of projects. By this time, next year, you can tell any city in the world we can compete with you in terms of road network. Don't worry, some of you who have been looking for land, there are plenty of land and now we are opening up everywhere. So, Mr. Chairman, you know, I told you not to invite me here now because part of, you know, we obey rules. That's part of this administration. Now that the order has come, the people are not happy with you. So I sincerely thank all of you. I wish that we'll have more time to be able to showcase what we have done. Thank you and God bless you.
You will all agree with me that the Honorable Minister is a man of courage and outstanding achiever. Please, once again, can we put our hands together for him? We had agreed that we're going to ask few questions, but I've been told by the School of Wisdom that we will take only 3 people asking questions. So you indicate, and we want you to please ask your questions straightforward. If you have further advice for the minister, definitely you have to see him in the office. But if you have questions that you require answers, I would definitely want you to ask your questions. I am not here alone today anchoring this program, but I have another gentleman standing by to also take over. He is Kevin Odige from the ministry here. Please, can we put our hands together for Kevin Odige? May I quickly introduce the special advisor to Mr. President on Media, Mr. Tope Ajayi. Please, can we welcome him? You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good afternoon, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, the highly elevated high table, I greet you. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll just take 3 questions for the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, after which we'll move to the next presentation by the Minister of Youth Development. So by a show of hands, 1, 2. All right, so to make it fair for us, like the Honorable Minister, we'll take it 1 from here, 1 from here, and 1 from here. So, Mr. Sonny Daniel, 2, the lady there, and 3. Thank you very much. Please.
They have mentioned my name. Good afternoon. My name is Sonny Daniel. I work with Vanguard newspapers. Honorable Minister of the FCT, well done for the transformation you have brought to the FCT. Well, let me take you to 2 areas only because of time. You have done well in the provision of infrastructure and you have arrested the rots in the city. But 2 areas appear to have eluded you. 1, Gwarimpa, the biggest city in this town, or even in Africa. It has been consistently turned into a slum because we understand that the FHA is contesting that the FCTA does not have oversight function over Gwarimpa. All the houses, almost all the houses, have been turned into shopping malls. Even those that were bungalows have been turned to high-rise buildings. And nothing is happening from your end. Is it that you have given up on arresting the rot in Gwarimpa? And finally, since you are interested in ensuring that the city is stabilized, crime is reduced, people are not harassed unnecessarily, why is it impossible to ensure that citizens are not harassed by touts who pose as agents of the AMAC or area councils? Because many times you see fights ensuing between these touts who claim to be either security agents or revenue agents, harassing people, including foreigners, which is very shameful. What are you going to do about this situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Number 2, the lady there.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, colleagues, I am Princess Eukwi Ajide of the Anambra Broadcasting Service. Minister, sir, thank you so much for the miracle you've been performing in the FCT. But sir, I want to bring to your knowledge, or rather I should say during your presentation, you said the satellite cities are also in your line of responsibility. I happen to live in one of the satellite cities, Jikoi, and it is not getting all this. So when are you going to come to Jikoi? Because we also need the miracle. And 2, yes, okay, satellite towns. I'm just talking about my own area. And another thing, sir.
Can we settle down, please? Please.
All these miracles you've been performing, do you have a strategy to ensure that it doesn't end just like that, that it continues? Because we want to, I'm talking about sustainability here, because we want it to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And the 3rd person is here. The one behind. The one behind. Thank you. Sir, hello, sir. He's the one, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, honorable ministers. My name is Teso Zambe, and I report for Radio Nigeria. Honorable Minister of FCT, I must congratulate you on your achievements in the FCT. And having watched what you have done in the FCT, there is this fear in me, having watched events in the country, the sustainability of this legacy project. What is the plan to ensure that these projects remain? That is one. Secondly, sir, housing in the FCT seems to be the exclusive preserve for the rich people. How can average Abuja residents access housing in the FCT? Lastly, what is the place of the indigenous people of FCT in your administration?
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, sir, you may wish to respond.
Thank you very much. Let me start with my friend Sonny Daniels, Vanguard. He talked about Warimpa. And in saying that, you try to answer the question by yourself, that there appears to be a tussle between the Fair Housing Authority and FCT. There's no tussle. FCT gave out the land to Federal Housing Authority. So those houses are under the Federal Housing Authority. However, we have the oversight function of making sure that developments are in tandem with the master plan of FCT. And so it is in that as I came on board, we set up a committee. All those that have distorted the master plans, that, for example, if you are supposed to build for residential purpose and you convert it to commercial purpose, then you have to bring it down or you lose the certificate. But I will also say, and I want to say it here, you are one of those who send me texts that I should take it easy. That, yes. You see, that I should take it easy. That, you see, Abuja is not like it. You see, in Nigeria, so many people are afraid of...
All right, that's the ministerial briefing ongoing at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. There you had the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Wike, talking about what he has done, more of giving an account of its stewardship in the past 1 year under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And one of the things he sort of highlighted is the project, which of course had already taken over 14 years before coming to fruition, and that is the building of the Vice President's Lodge. And that's not the only thing. He mentioned a couple of other things which he has done, and from that particular video, you could see that they already started calling him a miracle worker, sort of asking him to replicate such miracle in other places like the satellite towns, where they also expect that he should replicate some of those things that he has been able to achieve at the other parts of the state in those places. You're still watching Business Edge, and when we come back, we have more for you.
In that way, we'll reduce touting, we'll reduce harassment, and this double taxation. 10% of our IGR, the law allows you to take 10% of it. So why are you afraid? So allow FCT to do it so that we begin to avoid double taxation and harassment by touts. One of the things in the city too, everybody wants to survive. Everybody would think that if I don't come to the city, I will not survive. So you find some of these elements from time to time. But bear it in mind, it is part of our responsibility that we are going to read them off. But it cannot just be immediately. There are so many things in our hand. Take, for example, street lights. Today, you put street light. Tomorrow night, it's no longer there. What happens? They vandalize. They go and cut off the cables. That is Nigeria. You arrest them. You go and prosecute them. What does the law say? On conviction, 10,000 naira. So they'll continue. And we have told the National Assembly, you must come to our aid by amending and reviewing the law to make it very tough. So that if you are caught, they have no option of fine, or even if there's an option of fine, the money will be too high in order for you not to repeat what you've done. Can you imagine where you go and cut the cable, very expensive. And most of the contractors who supply these cables, they sell it back to them. These are criminals everywhere. So, we're taking care of all this. My sister talk about satellite time. I'm happy. You are saying, when will the miracle reach your own area? Continue praying. You see, prayer is the key. Now that we have gone closer to our own neighbors, you are seeing it, and the miracle hasn't come. Have the hope it will come. I can assure you, and let me tell people this, even if I'm minister for 200 years here, I can't solve the whole problem. Right? So, as you come, you contribute your own to the best of your knowledge. Then when another person comes, he continues from where you stop. After all, government is a continuum. And that's why Mr. President said, look, all these projects littered everywhere, you cannot go and begin to initiate new projects. See how you can complete all these ones. And then you move on to the new projects. So I can assure you, pray that the council areas will nominate here, because I don't sit here to go and nominate the roads in the satellite time to construct. No. I allow the stakeholders to say which is the important road you want, that you think that's so important in this area council. Well, once they nominate, then we go and do the construction. So as I sit here, I don't even know. But since you are my sister, I'll do fasting for you, and God will touch my mind. You talk about sustainability. Take, for example, all these roads we are doing, how do we make sure it's being sustained? Look at the manholes. Every midnight, they go and remove the manholes. So, what have we done? We have brought out another strategy now, where the manhole will no longer be attractive to them. Yes, LCD, where is it? What is what we have adopted now? Come and take it. I know you want to be a minister. Come and talk.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the manholes and gully pot covers that had been in use is the cast iron cover. And this has economic value, and the vendors easily take it and sell it. What we are now introducing, what we have introduced, in fact, most of our roads are now this composite material, which has, to our own established this thing with all the characteristics of its strength and drainability. It has no any economic value, and we are hoping that this will, of course, we are also introducing locks along with it, so that they cannot easily be picked. It will delay the time, and we are almost sure that even when you take it there, because we are embossing our names, that is FCTA names on the facilities, That is the position. Thank you.
I just wanted him to make some clarification on that. The last person talked about indigenous people. You must give, you must give this administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu the credit to identify what the last person said, indigenous. I want every Abuja person to hear this. Since the establishment of the FCT territory in 1976, it is under this administration that the indigenous people have been identified and given relevance in the administration of FCT. For the first time, you have a mandate secretary. You have never had it. The mandate secretary of the area council is from Abuja. For the first time, you have a permanent secretary who's also from Abuja. Then, for the first time, you have a cabinet minister from Abuja. So when they say indigenous, all these are indigenous. Before you didn't have one. To the glory of God, you have three, which means we have started something. So give credit to this administration. Housing. You know, one of the most difficult problems in this FCT is about land. You know that? Do you know that? Where corruption is in the land department. As I speak to you, as a minister, it's one area that I've been battling. But I will defeat them. Because even to make land affordable for people to build houses, which is what we're supposed to do, most of this land, one encumbrance or the other. Why? Double allocation. And this double allocation is by those in the land department and the ages. And so it makes it difficult. Now, for Mr. President, in our next budget, we want to build the New Hope City. And this is for our affordable houses, not for the big men now, as he said, not for the big men. We are going to build affordable houses to the tune of about 10,000 houses for our people. I plead, and I know that Mr. President will approve, that to allocate it to people who cannot afford to build. We are going to provide infrastructure and then build for them and allocate to the poor ones. Well, you will not determine and define who is poor in the right sense. So that we have that in our mind to build 10,000 houses, what we call the New Hope City. So that has to do with housing. And we are willing, this time around, now ask, somebody says he wants to build 20,000 houses and he wants 300 hectares of land. Then you give him the 300 hectares of land. He does not build the houses. He starts allocating the land to people, started making money. I said, okay, why did we give you the land then? We can't sell land directly. Now you go, it's okay, we can't allow this. It is fraud. Stop. Then the person brings politics. Because I'm from the east, because I'm from the west, because I'm from the north. You will not ask, why did the FCT stop this? You know, in Nigeria, two things, ethnicity and religion. Once you are doing the right thing, if they don't use religion, they use ethnicity. So, but we are equal to the tax. Just to be convinced that we have the political will to implement and do what is right. Thank you, and God bless you.
Spoken like the true landlord of the FCT. Please, a round of applause for the Honorable Minister. For the want of time, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll move to the next presentation. Just to state for the record that this presentation is to be taken for 20 minutes to allow for other presentations to go on. With that being said, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce at this time the Honorable Minister of Youth Development, Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim. A round of applause for her, please. Please, can we, in an orderly fashion, this is a live program.
Ladies and gentlemen, please get seated. It is only the minister of the FCT that has taken his leave. Other ministers are still here and will continue the program, and others will also join us as we progress. So please take your seat as we listen to the Honorable Minister of Youth. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to honorable ministers here present, special advisors to Mr. President, the senior special assistants to the President, our top management staff of the ministry, the permanent secretaries here present. I'm here to present the ministerial sectoral update of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development, my brother, the Honorable Minister of State Youth Development, Honorable Ayodele Olawande, and my humble self, the Minister of Youth Development. Well, unlike the FCT, we are not a state. However, we are saddled with the responsibility, a very important responsibility that we're saddled with a mandate that makes us responsible for ensuring the prosperity of young people in this country and to also guarantee the collective destiny of our country, Nigeria. So help us God. We're also grateful to His Excellency, Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for giving us this responsibility. On that note, I'd like to take us a little behind, back to memory lane, precisely on the 1st of March, 2023. His Excellency, Mr. President, said to Nigerians when he went to receive his certificate of return from INEC. His Excellency, President Tinubu spoke on how his incoming administration will address issues concerning young Nigerians at 2 events in Abuja.
And he said, "Now to you, the young people of this country, I hear you loud and clear." Well, the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is a testament to Mr. President's commitment to that statement. Responsibility is for policy formulation and development and implementation and monitoring, evaluation of programs on youth development towards wealth creation, youth empowerment, well-being, and achieving overall excellence, national unity, and sustainable development. Well, the Federal Ministry of Youth Development's mandate our mission as a ministry, our expectations are clear, even though very ambitious. We aim to create an enabling environment for young people to thrive in various sectors that foster entrepreneurship, provide access to capital and resources to enhance skills development, and to ensure the holistic development of young people. We are committed to bridging the gap between potential and opportunity, ensuring that every young Nigerian has tools and support needed to succeed. We are assigned 11 deliverables within specific presidential priorities. Priority 3, which speaks to economic growth and job creation. Priority 4 speaks to access to capital. And priority 5 speaks to inclusivity and drawing on all skills base. Well, our presidential deliverables are to establish public-private partnership frameworks that enables the creation and expansion of multiple MSME incubators, accelerators, and innovation centers in 6 geopolitical zones with a specific focus on engaging and empowering young people. We also have assigned deliverables to catalyze entrepreneurship endeavors with youth at the core of job creation and economic development. initiative, and we're not here to reinvent the wheel. So we saw a need to institutionalize the fund through an act of parliament, the Nigerian Youth Fund, the National Youth Fund, to be established, and the Federal Executive Council has also approved the development of an executive bill to that effect. So the initial 2024 appropriation is 110 billion for immediate release, and in the coming weeks, disbursements will recommence. But as having successfully restructured and expanded the Youth Investment Fund with an approved budget of 110 billion for the 2024 fiscal year, coupled with the approval, now we decided beyond institutionalizing the NYF, we'll build on it. Easier recovery of these funds that were disbursed. Well, we're on track for maximum impact with the Youth Investment Fund this year. And there's also the Presidential Initiative for the Establishment of Youth Enterprise Clusters. We have identified the first 6 clusters to be started this year, which we will activate in the coming weeks. And these clusters will empower 50,000 entrepreneurs, creating up to 500,000 direct jobs and over 2 million indirect engagements for young Nigerians. The second deliverable is the Youth Development Bank. In partnership with the Bank of Industry, we're setting up a next generation bank next gen bank to nurture young entrepreneurs with loans and business support to bridge, the gaps of access to capital for young people. I remember when I was much younger, trying to access funds from commercial banks. They asked me to bring my grandmother, my grandfather, and all those, funny requirements. So the purpose of establishing this bank, which was a campaign promise of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is to bridge those gaps in access to funds. Well, this bank is a specialized financial institution which aims to support youth-led initiatives in strategic sectors, providing vital financial services with an initial government investment of 5 billion naira, matched by contributions from the Bank of Industry and private sector partners. So the third is, I already mentioned the third deliverable, the enterprise clusters, which has been approved. So the second deliverable is to strengthen NYSC to empower young people in agriculture, vocational skills, technology, and social inclusion. So the NYSC reforms are commenced, which is robust, and it includes skills building to better position the NYSC. So a committee has been established to drive comprehensive reforms within the National Youth Service Corps, focusing on skills development, entrepreneurship. This reform will transform the NYSC into a more impactful and economically beneficial program for our young graduates. And the skills development program, the National Youth Skills Program, we have initiated to train 300,000 NYSC corps members and 700,000 young people outside the NYSC scheme, because we have young people in the informal sector. We have the high-risk young people who are neither educated nor skilled. And if we address the challenges of this proportion of the youth demography, we'll be going a long way to address challenges that our country is faced with today, such as insecurity. So this will serve as the administration's non-kinetic approach to solving insecurity challenges. And the youth quota, the third deliverable is identify and implement priority programs from the National Youth Policy. So the youth quota implementation, the Federal Executive Council has approved a 30% youth quota under the visionary leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. The importance of youth representation has been firmly acknowledged, recognizing young people's crucial role in shaping a brighter future. The Federal Executive Council's approval to implement a minimum of 30% youth quota in all government appointments across all levels of government underscores our commitment to equitable representation and active youth participation in decision-making processes. The national youth policy, we're in the process of reviewing it because it's outdated. We're reviewing it and expanding the scope of the national youth policy to include climate action, blue economy, mental health and migration challenges. And the last deliverable is to rehabilitate existing youth development centers in all 6 geopolitical zones with youth-friendly recreational facilities. The youth development centers are being identified, and commencement of rehabilitation nationwide will be in earnest. Well, the Citizenship and Leadership Center is also undergoing reforms, being the second parastatal under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Youth Development, aside the NYSC. We are also driving reforms in the CLTC to enhance leadership training and citizenship education, ensuring that our youth are well prepared to take on leadership roles and contribute to national development. The Young Leaders Institute is also another milestone that we hope to achieve, and this institute will nurture the next generation of Nigerian leaders, and it will be implemented alongside the 30% youth quota for inclusion in governance, because it's not enough to create more spaces, more seats for young people at decision-making tables. It is also important that we prepare ourselves for leadership, take on those leadership positions going forward. So this institute will nurture the next generation of Nigerian leaders, providing them with the skills, knowledge, and the network needed to excel in various fields. Well, while I have exhausted the deliverables and how much progress we've made addressing those, towards achieving the deliverables, our plans and the pipeline will be going forward. Looking ahead, our plans are ambitious, like I said earlier, yet achievable. So we will continue the disbursement of the Youth Investment Fund to support more youth entrepreneurs, operationalize the Next Gen Bank by August 2024 to provide tailored financial services to youth-led ventures, and implement NYC reforms to integrate skills development and entrepreneurship in the service year. To scale up the National Youth Skills Program to train more young Nigerians across all geopolitical zones, taking the levels of proficiency into consideration. To provide further reforms in the CLTC. And, I've actually already stated those in the deliverables and the journey thus far. So in conclusion, our journey over the past years have been remarkable. Over the past year has been marked by significant achievements and commitment to youth development. As we celebrate our first anniversary under the leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I reaffirm our dedication to empowering Nigerian youth, fostering economic growth, and wielding a more prosperous and inclusive nation. We're grateful for the support and collaboration of all the stakeholders, and we look forward to achieving even greater milestones in the years ahead. I thank you very much, and I am here to take questions.
Just three. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim, the Honorable Minister of Youth Development, for an insightful presentation, showing us what you're doing for the youth of this nation, who we consider leaders of tomorrow, but partners of today. May I announce a slight adjustment in the proceedings of our gathering here today. We will be taking questions, but the answers will come much more later when other presenters have done their presentation. We just want to avoid a situation where after the questions, people leave, so that we have everybody to hear exactly this scorecard of all these honorable ministers are reading for us today. May I announce that we have in our midst the Honorable Minister of Steel Development, Prince Shoaib Abubakar Audu. Please can we receive him with an applause. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to invite him to come over to the podium and present his scorecard for us to assess his achievements for the past 1 year. Please let's welcome Prince Shoaib Abubakar Audu once again to the
Thank you very much, Mr. Presenter, for the introduction. Let me start by acknowledging my colleagues, all the honorable ministers, here present, led by the Honorable Minister of Information, as well as the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, all the special advisors here present, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, I'm here to speak on our achievements and what we have done under the Ministry of Steel Development, based on the mandate by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I will summarize, for want of time, my presentation into 3 parts. One, I will talk about the mandate of Mr. President. 2, I will talk about what we have achieved. And 3, I would also briefly talk about what is left for us to do ahead. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave a mandate to the Ministry of Steel Development following the creation of the ministry in August 2023. And the mandates are in 2 parts, 2 major parts. One is the revival of the Ajokuta Steel Complex and the National Iron Ore Mining Company, which I will summarize as NIOMCO. And then secondly is the revival of the entire steel industry. This is very, very critical to the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President, whose desire is to grow the economy of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to over $1 trillion by the end of the first term of this administration, thereby making us a G20 economy. Getting to $1 trillion is a big task, but very, very much achievable, as Mr. President has said. And the steel sector will play an important role in ensuring that this administration achieves that. So that is the mandate for the Ministry of Steel Development. What have we done so far in terms of our achievements for the revival of the Ajokuta Steel Complex as well as Niomco? Those government assets were built in 1979, so this makes it 45 years since the creation and the construction of those major national government assets. And now, for most of those 45 years, those assets have been comatose. By the end of 1983, at the end of the Shehu Shagari administration, which originally built the plants and the complexes in 1979, the plant was around 98% complete. But since then, nothing has been done pretty much by the federal government over those years, more than 40 years. They've tried to do, successive administrations have tried to do so many things which has not achieved the desired results. But Mr. President is not deterred and has asked us that while we are trying to resolve the broader issue of Ajokuta, we should also address the low-hanging fruits and resolve the things that can be done in the immediate term. So we have started to put some very, very concrete and imminent measures in place to achieve that. The first thing that we have done to achieve that is we have obtained presidential approval from Mr. President himself to raise private capital to restart the light section mill of the Ajokuta steel plant. We are at the final stages of raising about 35 or over 35 billion naira from a local financial institution, which is around $25 million, to be able to restart the light section mill of the complex so that we can produce iron rods. That light section mill has a capacity to produce up to 400,000 metric tons of iron rods per annum. Now, I have been working very, very closely with the Minister of Works, Senator Umahi, so that we can provide iron rods to the ministry as part of the concrete road revolution of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There are so many roads that are being constructed across the country, about 30,000 kilometers of roads across the 6 geopolitical zones. So part of what we are doing is that we understand that the Ministry of Works needs about 7 million metric tons of iron rods over that 4-year period to construct these 30,000 kilometers of roads. Ajokuta can produce 400,000 tons, which is a drop in the ocean of what is required. But because it's an important asset, the President is keen on us getting Ajokuta to work and being able to produce some of these iron rods that is required by the federal government. So these 35 billion naira that we are raising will help us resuscitate the light steel mill and help us to produce up to 50,000 metric tons of iron rods. Like I said, we're in the final stages of raising the financing. The local financial institution has given us a final offer, which I have done a cover letter and forwarded the relevant documents to the Minister of Finance to be able to take the financing on behalf of the federal government using promissory notes that will be discounted and provided for Ajokuta to be able to get back on track in terms of the iron rod production. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we've done in that regard is we have had advanced discussions with the Ministry of Defense. So I have engaged on several occasions with the Minister of State for Defense, Governor Metawale, who is in charge of DICON. I've also engaged with Alhaji Badaru, the Minister of Defense, to work on using one of the engineering workshops or engineering plants in Ajokuta to be able to produce military hardwares for usage by the Nigerian military to enhance our security situation. So what is required is we have a methodological development center that has the ability to provide us with the lead and zinc that is required to be able to provide and produce some of these military hardware, whether it's vests or helmets or bullets or components for tanks, so on and so forth. The MOU has been prepared. The MOU is on my desk currently. I'm reviewing it. Part of what we're trying to tidy up in terms of dotting the I's and crossing the T's is to ensure that we're able to secure the required financing. We want to pursue a private sector route to raise the financing to be able to revive that plant. But we also want some push and some contributions by the federal government as well. So that's the second thing that we're doing regarding the first mandate. The third thing that we're doing regarding getting Ajaokuta and Nyomko back on track is we have started having discussions regarding reviving the power plant. Ajaokuta has a 110 megawatt power plant that can produce power that can supply power not just to Ajaokuta Steel Complex, but also to the national grid to improve power supply. Because of the lack of funding and lack of resources that are available, part of what we are doing is we're trying to think outside the box and be innovative. So we're engaging in a PPP partnership where the asset will be used as the collateral, so to say, and the private sector investor can come in and give us financing and provide financing and expertise to be able to get the power plant back on track. We're talking to 3 potential suitors right now, including Transcorp Power, including Niger Delta Power Holding Company, and the third is Reticulated Global Engineering. Those are the companies that we're talking to ensure that the power plant is back on track. The fourth thing regarding Ajaokuta and Nyomko is, which is extremely important, in fact it should be number 1, which is we have initiated discussions with the OEM, the original equipment manufacturers, the original builders of the steel plant, to come back and complete the job, right? To revive Ajaokuta, we need about $2 billion US, based on estimates from experts. And the Russian builders that came originally to build the plant have shown willingness and desire to help us to complete the plant and to bring in the funding using a structure that will be acceptable and will be in the best interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, although we are talking to the Russian TPE company, we have a lot of reserve bidders and other parties that have also shown interest, including the Chinese, including some of the Arab companies, the Indian companies, and even Nigerian companies. The consortium that the Russian company is leading also includes Nigerian companies as well, or a Nigerian entity. So we're factoring in local capacity in the entire conversation. So that's a very, very important component which we're trying to resolve. The fifth thing that we're doing regarding the first mandate from Mr. President is we are also putting measures in place and looking at creating an industrial park in Ajaokuta territory. There's a steel territory that occupies about 24,000 hectares of land, which is almost as big as the size of Abuja. Now, of that 24,000 hectares of land that is available, 800 hectares, the steel plant is built on 800 hectares. So there's over 23,000 hectares of land that is available. The idea is to create an industrial park where all steel operators, not just in Nigeria but in West Africa, ultimately will coalesce and produce, a steel component. So that will be the industrial hub of Nigeria, hopefully. So that's the desire in terms of in terms of addressing the first component of what Mr. President has desired for us to do in the steel industry. Now, the last component that I will talk about is what is left for us to do, which is very much and closely related to Mr. President's second mandate to us, which is the revival of the entire steel industry. How do we achieve this? It's a very, very critical component of the steel jigsaw. What we are doing to revive the steel industry is, number one, we have drafted an internal document that gives us a 10-year roadmap for the steel industry. We have also drafted an internal document that has produced a 3-year roadmap for the revival of Ajokuta Steel as well as Nyomco. So we have those two documents that have been produced by internal experts. However, we need to take it a step further. We need to consult and work with all the industry stakeholders. We have to be able to do testings. We have to be able to bring in consultants. We have to be able to bring in consultants to look at, similar steel markets that are similar to what we are doing in Nigeria or what exists in Nigeria. So we have to be able to look at, the Indian market, the Egyptian market. We have to look at, even some European markets, including Russia and maybe the US, to be able to decide and determine how best for us to revive the steel industry. That will require some funding. We need somewhere between $2 to $5 million or up to $5 million to be able to draft the roadmap and put all the networks in place. We're currently in the process of raising financing. So as you can see, we have a lot of initiatives, but financing is is somewhat of a challenge. But we're not complaining. We're working hard and we're thinking outside the box to put those measures in place. The second thing is we have engaged with a Chinese steel producer, Luan Steel, as well as Mr. President has engaged an Indian steel company, Jindal Steel, at the sidelines of the G20 meeting last year, September 2023, where they committed to bringing in about up to $5 billion US to set up a 5 million metric tons of steel plant. Luan Steel, where we were in China on the 1st of January this year, where I was in China together with the Minister of Defense, Alhaji Badaru, has also shown interest in committing about $3 billion to set up a 3 million metric ton steel plant in Nigeria. Part of what we're looking to do is we need to identify the best place to situate the raw materials, the best place that captures a deep sea port, the best place that, there's gas supply to be able to bring in all the necessary parameters. So if you look at what we're doing with Jindal Steel, Luan Steel, as well as the money that we're bringing in for Ajokuta, we have a potential pipeline and commitment of up to $10 billion that we're looking to bring into the steel industry. The final thing that I would say is we are looking to put in some a potential pipeline and commitment of up to $10 billion that we're looking to bring into the steel industry. The final thing that I would say is we are looking to put in some policies and enact some bills to be able to guide the industry. One of the bills that we've put in place and that we're looking to enact is the metallurgical industry bill. That has killed the second reading. We're engaging with the National Assembly. Some amendments are being proposed, which will be sent to the National Assembly very soon. And the National Steel Act, the National Steel Council Act, will be amended, as well as the metallurgical training industry bill. Once we put those acts and bills in place, that will provide the guidance for the steel industry. And the last thing that I'll mention is we have also enhanced regulation of scrap metals in Nigeria, and we have engaged the Scrap Metals Dealers Association of Nigeria so that we can provide some regulatory oversight and overview on the scrap metals industry in Nigeria. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening. God bless you. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the want of time, we'll take the questions. Petroleum Resources Oil will give its presentation, then we take the three together so that we can be able to move with the time. With that being said, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I invite Senator Heineke Lopobiri, PhD, for his presentation.
Thank you very much. The honorable ministers who are here, permanent secretaries, very senior government officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I believe that we already exceeded the time allocated to this first, section of the program. So I will try as much as possible to be very brief, so that the next set of ministers who are coming will have their own time. So let me go straight to the point. When we were appointed as ministers and were assigned into the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the President gave us a very specific mandate, and I'm here today to tell you what we have been able to achieve in that regard. Recall that one of the President's cardinal, campaign points, which is agenda number 4, was to unlock, or is to unlock the natural resources of our great country for our national economic prosperity. So pursuant thereto, as ministers in the Ministry of Petroleum, we were asked to, first of all, increase production, ensure that we meet our OPEC quota. Our OPEC quota for the year 2024 is 1.5 million barrels per day. Last year, our OPEC quota was 1.78 million barrels per day. And the reason why our OPEC quota was reduced to 1.5 million barrels per day was because we were unable to meet the production of 1.7 million barrels a day. So when we met at OPEC to determine the quota for 2024, they said the previous government signed that whatever we produce as at November 2023 will form a quota for the year 2024. And so we're helpless. As at that time, we were producing less than 1.5 million barrels. At the time we took hold of office, we were assigned into the Ministry of Petroleum. We were doing about 1 million barrels per day. But as today, I'm proud to announce to you that we are doing approximately 1.7 million barrels per day. This is inclusive of condensate. There is a difference between crude and condensate. But even for crude alone, we are doing approximately 1.5. For condensate, it's even higher grade of crude that even sells higher in terms of price than the crude that people popularly, talk about. So as of today, our budget is predicated on 1.7 million barrels per day. But plus condensate, we're already meeting our budget expectations. So I think we deserve a round of applause from you. At least we are meeting our own mandate. First of all, are producing what OPEC has given to us to produce, which is 1.5. We have exceeded it when you include condensate, and so we have achieved that. Our target is to ensure that we produce up to 2-3 million barrels per day, and we have the capacity to do so. Our problem hasn't been capacity. Our problem has been, so many other, factors which I don't want to bore you today, but one of them is the difficulty in evacuation. Our pipelines, some of them as old as 50 years, some of them as old as the industry, which started in 1956 in Bayelsa. And so the lifespan of the pipelines have already expired. And so when a young man goes to those pipelines and he just touches the pipelines, they are busted. And so even if you produce, you have the challenge of evacuation. And that is why most of the flow stations are shut down because of evacuation difficulties. But we are addressing those problems. And that is why we are confidently saying that the issue has nothing to do with capacity, but the issue is basically technical and which we are addressing. And by the time we address them, within the shortest possible time, we'll increase production, to 2 million to 3 million. Let me also say, as part of our achievement, is that when we got into the ministry, one of the biggest problems we faced was lack of investment in the last 12 years. Recall that recently the global CEO of Total made a statement in Kigali, in Rwanda, and he said Nigeria hasn't seen investment for 12 years, which is true, but we are already changing the narrative. I was in a meeting with him on Saturday with Mr. President, and all the issues he raised are already addressing. Also to tell you that Total has also shown significant interest in the new bid rounds that have been announced. President approved a new bid round which we launched in Houston sometime this month, and Total is already expressing significant interest in some of those blocks. So also the other IOCs, which means that the IOCs, we've been able to, rekindle the confidence of the investing community, and they are coming back. Even this morning, I was playing host to the global CEO of Schlumberger. Schlumberger is the highest, is the biggest oil and gas service provider in the world. Schlumberger, among other companies like the Halliburtons, left Nigeria. Why did they leave? Because the policies were not favorable. They left because some people who were implementing the Local Content Act misunderstood the local content to be substitution of the IOCs. That wasn't the intent. I was in the Senate when we passed that law. The law was to build local capacity to play at their own level. As of today, no local drilling company can go to deep offshore to drill. It's still the exclusive, it's still within the exclusive capacity of the big oil servicing companies to go to deep offshore, where bulk of our production is coming from. It's important to note that over 80% of what is produced locally is produced by the IOCs. And the IOCs themselves have pledged that they are not leaving Nigeria, but they are trying to leave onshore and shallow waters to go to deep offshore, which is beyond our own capacity at the moment. So the point is that we have been able to rekindle the confidence, we have restored the confidence of the investing community in the oil and gas sector. And that is why Halliburton's global COE was here. And that was why the Total global CEO was here last Saturday. And I've met with the global CEOs of Shell, ENI. As I speak now, the team of ENI is still waiting for me in my office. All these are to show that the policies of this government are working. We are already bringing back. No local drilling company can go to deep offshore to drill. It's still the exclusive, it's still within the exclusive capacity of the big oil servicing companies to go to deep offshore, where bulk of our production is coming from. It's important to note that over 80% of what is produced locally is produced by the IOCs. And the IOCs themselves have pledged that they are not leaving Nigeria, but they are trying to leave onshore and shallow waters to go to deep offshore, which is beyond our own capacity at the moment. So the point is that we have been able to rekindle the confidence, we have restored the confidence of the investing community in the oil and gas sector. And that is why Halliburton's global COE was here. And that was why the Total global CEO was here last Saturday. And I've met with the global CEOs of Shell, ENI. As I speak now, the team of ENI is still waiting for me in my office. All these are to show that the policies of this government are working. We are already bringing back the investors because they now have confidence in this present administration.
So we've done what a government is expected to do to attract investment. Somebody was asking me that Total announced $6 billion of proposed investment in Angola. I'm also very, very, happy to announce to you that we have a company that I don't want to tell you now, but there's a company that in the next few weeks will announce a $10 billion investment in deep offshore. And they are in town waiting for me. These were companies that left Nigeria because they believed that there were inconsistent policies. The atmosphere wasn't favorable. But following this administration's policies of deliberately creating the best environment that are competitive globally, they are all coming back. There's also another company that will invest about $5 billion. And these are not stories. But I don't want to preempt the announcement, so let it be that we announce it so that Nigerians will know that it's just like somebody who has dug a well, had to keep fishing, the thing will keep going down. This morning I was with a company, and that company alone is saying that they are happy that Slumbeche is back to town, and they have a drilling program of drilling 100 wells. You know what that means? That will be another major investment that will attract billions of dollars. The Minister of Petroleum is not a ministry where you execute projects. Ours is to create the environment so that investors in the oil and gas sector can continue to invest in the sector. Nigeria still has the highest reserves in Africa. But the reason why we are not seeing the benefits of these huge reserves is because in the last 12 years, Nigeria's capital investment to reserve was the lowest in the world. We are at only 5%. Angola had 46%. Mozambique had 97%. Guyana had 617%. You ask yourself the question, why did the companies in Nigeria fail to invest in the last 12 years? The reason is simple. The PIA took longer than ever to be passed. And nobody wants to invest billions of dollars in any climate where there's uncertainty. Now we have told them that the PIA is now passed. We have a stable governance structure. We have the best fiscals. And the president has signed executive orders. We have the best fiscal terms that are globally competitive. And we are saying that you have a long history with Nigeria. So come back to Nigeria and invest. And that is why those who want to invest the $10 billion is an old IOC. Those who want to invest $5 billion is an old IOC. There are also other smaller companies that are coming in. One is in fact proposing to invest $1.6 billion. And I brought NNPC together with them. That is the mandate of the Minister of Petroleum Resources. Our own target is that by the end of the year, we'll have increased production through our sustained investment campaign to at least 2 million to 2.5 million barrels. So that OPEC will be forced to beg us and say, look, slow down. Instead of me going to beg OPEC to, to sustain our meager, OPEC quota. Last year, I practically was begging OPEC. I had to travel to the president of OPEC, who was minister in Equatorial Guinea. I had to go to Saudi ahead just to lobby, because if they wanted to follow what the previous government had agreed, our quota would have been 1.2 billion barrels. But I'm happy that at least we are meeting our OPEC quota, and we are making all the decisions we need to make to ensure that we surpass this OPEC, the quota. I will not bore you, with too many other issues, but let me also, say that one of the reasons why the investing community is coming back is because, as a policy, we decided to eliminate all the bottlenecks. The bureaucracy in the system has been completely eliminated. You will agree with me There are some companies who apply to renew licenses, and it will take 1 year to renew a license. Because somebody has to know somebody who knows the minister. But since I came, all that has been eliminated. You don't need to know me before I sign the extension. And I've also told the world that you don't also need to know me before I cancel your own. We must set uniform standards. Just like I don't expect you to come to my office for me to sign your license. If you do not perform according to the terms of your license, we also cancel it. Let us give it to those who have proven capacity, both technical and financially, to explore these oil wells. The biggest challenge we have is that we have thousands of idle oil wells that are not exploited. I give one example. There is one oil block between Rivers and then Akwa Ibom. That oil block has 117 oil wells, but only 10 are producing. The rest are just shutting. Why? No explanation. Exploited. I give one example. There is one oil block between Rivers and then Akwa Ibom. That oil block has 117 oil wells, but only 10 are producing. The rest are just shutting. Why? No explanation. They are in the hands of somebody who may not have capacity to be able to explore. It's just like you have a tenant in a house. You must get the court order before you eject him. We cannot forcefully go in and put new people. So what we have done is to put framework in place to say, look, the PIA gives us authority to say, if you are given license, you have conditions attached to it. If you are not meeting those conditions, we can farm them out and give it to people who have the capacity to be able to produce them. Unless you bring out the crude oil deposit in the soil, there's no economic value. And the good news is that from the projections we have, oil price will still be stable in the next 4-5 years. It will hover between $80 to $90. This is the best time. Nigeria didn't make money when every other country made money. Following the Ukraine-Russia war, oil price came up. Every country, Aramco declared over $200 billion in profit. Only Nigeria didn't make money. What we are doing is to rewrite the story. Let us maximize our production, which we are doing, and ensure that Nigerians benefit from these God-given resources that we have. You know, we as I said earlier, today I was with the global CEO of Alleviate of Slumbiche. We are bringing back all the service companies. I'm in touch with all of them. Because the IOCs will complain that, look, if they want to go deep offshore, unless these big boys are there, they cannot do it. And unless they come back, there will also be no competition, which means the price will be higher. And the higher the prices, the more we pay as Nigerian government. Because all these blocks you see, Nigeria owns between 60 to 70%. And so whatever costs that is attached to production, we pay majority of it. And so they're all coming back. Also in the downstream, I also want to assure Nigerians that in the downstream too, caused some havoc. And production came down to below 1 million barrels. And so Nigeria went into a recession. What did we do? We had to engage stakeholders in the Niger Delta to give peace a chance. And production went up to 2 million barrels. So without peace, all the policies we are talking about, all the efforts we are making will be a mirage. And so one of the biggest achievements is engaging the relevant stakeholders in the Niger Delta region to sustain the peace so that oil and gas companies can return and invest so that we can generate the money for the benefit of Nigerians. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity. If there are specific questions, I want to be very willing to answer. Thank you very much.